Hello, everybody. Welcome to the WhatCulture Gaming Podcast. I'm your host, Scott Taylorford, joined by Ash Millman.
Hello.
And joined by Rachel Shackleton.
Hello, hello.
And we're going to dissect the week's news because there's some things brewing. Now, I'm going to open this with a ridiculous statement, which is that a rapper, you might remember him, Soulja Boy himself.
Soulja Boy, I've been it. Oh, watch me work me, watch me. Oh.
I'd say I never knew. I remember him being a thing, but I didn't know his song.
He had that song, that one Soulja
and then
song.
my wife was like, "Yeah, he did that one anthem, which apparently was an anthem." Either way,
It was a schoolyard stomp, as the kids call it.
So yeah, he's trying to cash in on that fame by releasing a series of video game consoles.
10 years later.
Because, video games. And so, yeah, he's got the Soulja Game handheld, the retro Soulja Boy Mini, and the Soulja Game Fuse. And apparently the Fuse is already a thing from 2016. And he just sort of went in there with his Soulja Boy goodness and said, hey, let's touch this up and re-release it again. The problem, though, is that if you've checked out any gameplay footage online, basically he has produced them all himself and he's selling them through his own website. Not literally him soldering them together,
Okay.
but he's managed to do it all himself.
Soldiering them
Soldering
together.
boy? Yes, him. Either way, he's selling everything through his website, which means that he's just got a bunch of consoles and put a bunch of games on that he has no licenses for.
All kinds of illegal.
It's kind of all kinds of illegal. And so, yeah, he's selling them through his website. And if you look at the footage that's available online, it's basically just a big old main menu, and you just pick, hey, do you want to play NES games, SNES games, PS1, Game Boy Advance, just all with the right iconography, the right logos.
Yeah.
Crash Bandicoot's on there, Mario's on there.
Why not?
Everything is on there.
I mean, if you can get away with it.
You can't get away with it.
No
so
way.
that brings me on to the addendum to this news thing, which is that Nintendo have immediately sent him a letter. This is according to Bleeding Cool. It says, Nintendo has sent the letter to Soulja Boy, informing him that the design violates the Trademark Counterfeiting Act, and that can include jail time.
Oh.
So he's doing well, Mr. Soulja Boy, but what do we think of knockoff consoles in general?
Oh man, I think knockoff consoles, they're obviously hilarious
Yeah.
because we
Yeah.
all had when all our friends all had like PlayStations. I know you had a PlayStation shop.
You discriminated against the station. Shackers.
There was always that one kid who didn't have a PlayStation but had this like
300 in
bootleg
one.
thing that had 300 games on it. Yeah, and
The PlayStation.
It's just hilarious because it's like, I'm better than you. I've got 300 games. Like, really, are you though?
I don't know, like, have you guys ever just when you were wandering around a random market, just picked up a console like that, just for the sheer lols of it? 'Cause
I
I
had
have
like
a
the
ton.
handheld ones,
Yeah.
like the proper like rip-off Mega Drive things, like not the official ones where they just stuck them all on so
Yep.
you could play them like that. I've had a couple of them, but yeah, very funny. Obviously bad for Nintendo, but very funny. And like, hey, if you get to play the games, then
I mean, looking at the because there's a bunch of videos on YouTube, but obviously it's weird to review this sort of thing because it's hard to get your hands on unless you go straight through Soulja Boy's website.
Yeah.
But the actual emulations that he's using apparently aren't very good anyway.
Aw.
So some of the footage online was showing Pokemon. It was like Fire Red because just pretty much everything is on there, and people try to play Pokemon. They're just full of screen tearing, and it's just a complete kind
To
of
be fair, it's
cluster
just,
wang.
you get what you pay for, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, no one was going to Soulja Boy going, hey, can you make a game console, please? Because that's what we think
God.
you're missing.
I just love that he has the balls to do it.
Yeah.
Like, it's just absolutely ridiculous. That's what the whole thing is. It's just entertaining because it is ridiculous.
I think somewhere along the way, like the statistics do kind of make sense because he would have just been like, well, the video game industry's big and I'm Soulja Boy, so I should do these things. But anyway, moving on to slightly more positive things. The Final Fantasy VII Remake, where are we both on that?
Very
All three of
hype.
us, rather.
Very hype. It comes up in lists all the time, and it's a game I've never played. And I need to play it just to be one of the cool kids.
I might crowdfund something to get you to play Final Fantasy VII. You're missing that in your life.
That weird blocky looking.
You played
thing.
14 the other day.
I'm kidding. It does look great. I time, so much time.
You've got the time.
But yeah, I do. I'm really looking forward to the remake because it'll be good to play it on my current gen hardware.
Woo.
I'm sure that's where it's coming out. I'm sure it's definitely coming out as well. I'm definitely not doubtful of it.
It's definitely.
Although this news thing comes from Yoshinori Katase, who was speaking to Famitsu and said that Final Fantasy VII Remake is going smoothly as far as the
that's
development
good.
goes. So it just seems that it was announced way too early. I think we
Yeah.
first saw it back in 2015.
Oh,
that was the
God.
announcement trailer at E3.
That's been a while.
It's been a while.
That's been a while.
But it's going smoothly.
It's going smoothly.
That's all we could want. That's all we could want.
Trailer? Build
The,
trailer?
No,
The-
just smoothness.
The general sort of like rumor with that was that Tetsuya Nomura, who's the game's director, apparently didn't know he was on the project until he saw his name in the credits as the announcement trailer came out. So that's apparently how quickly they put that together.
Oh, okay.
Even if that's not true, I like to choose to believe it.
Yeah.
What a guy, though.
Yeah, so apparently he was talking to Famitsu, said the thing about it going smoothly, and when as part of the write-up, the different developers were asked to submit a keyword that sort of described how they were doing, and he submitted long wait. So
wait.
definitely,
He is a man of few words.
it's true.
That's not a key word. That's true.
It's not. He just sort of broke the rules. But apparently, Final Fantasy VII's remake is going to be episodic as well. So I don't know if they've got around that.
I heard that. I mean, we've seen episodic games work with story games, but for a game where a lot of people know the story, I don't know if it's a good idea.
It's a bit strange. I mean, considering that like Final Fantasy VII is known for being one of the most immersive RPGs of all time, like releasing it in chunks
Having
is
to
just.
wait,
But I mean, for me, it kind of worked with Hitman like that. 2016's Hitman came out in like episodes, and everyone hated it. But to be honest, it was one of the best ways to play that game because you kind of got to mine. I mean, it's a different structure for a game, but you got to mine like the levels for that whole month, and then you got more content. It was kind of more consistent.
Yeah, because that really worked really well for Hitman. Because correct me if I'm wrong, I've not played it, but you went to different cities.
Yes.
In each chapter, so that worked really well for Hitman, from what I can gather. But I'm concerned about it working.
There's a possibility that if, depending on where because they have to pick specific points to cut the episodes in 7. Because Ash, have you played Final Fantasy VII?
I haven't played Final Fantasy VII. I'm also excited to play it. I'm also excited to play it on the current gen.
What is this?
So you skipped over that, but no, I just sat here quietly because I thought. But yeah, no, I'm excited to play it on the current gen as well.
But my point was going to be that Final Fantasy VII is such an immersive thing, and they're going to have to go back into it and find specific points to cut off if they're going to release it in episodes. But that could have the positive effect of if you think of it like a TV series, then you get people talking about those plot points and those twists and everything.
Yeah.
So there's probably a way to do it that'll work out.
It is
but
a nice way to mediate on things, but I think for RPGs and for like long form stories, it's I don't know. I think it works really well for like Telltale games and like as in the ones that are and. Blah.
Rest in peace.
Yes. And Life is Strange, and those ones that function like TV episodes or points in their lives that need reflecting on. So maybe this will work in the same way, but I don't know. It's a strange way of doing long form if it's one plot point after another that's happening. Like if it was like next day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think ultimately, if he says development's going smoothly, because initially in 2015, they were like, we'll show you more in December.
Yeah.
And they just didn't.
Yeah.
So, like, actually, I think they put out like a tiny little gameplay demo. But I think at this point, it was announced too early, and it's about time that they sort of followed up on it. So, whatever. But I don't know if you guys are keeping up on the Street Fighter scene.
I mean, love me some fighting games.
I also love me some fighting games. Smash is the best one going right now. But
Smash is the best.
Capcom insist on butchering Street Fighter 5 even more. So if you don't already know, Street Fighter 5 didn't have the best launch.
No,
It kind of released in like threadbare form, and they sort of like just plugged content back into it. And so at this stage, they've started advertising the Capcom Pro Tour, which is like their big esports fighting tournament, in the game. So I don't know if you guys have already seen the images, but basically they've made it so that like they have Capcom Pro Tour stickers just all over the characters, kind of like NASCAR style, and it looks horrific. So I'll show you an example. We'll have to put it on the screen somehow. But you see how he's got the stickers just on his gloves.
Yeah, it's got like punchy Pro.
I got you, fam. I'll put it up for you.
Yeah, we'll put it up for you. But that's what we're dealing with. Is just characters that just have stickers all over them. One of the most egregious ones is Akuma has it on his back, which is like where his main symbol is, like the iconic symbol of that character, kind of Street Fighter, you can argue, just replaced with a big old sticker on the back of it.
I love it. I love all these audacious people just doing ridiculous things. Like it's funny.
So
it's their platform. It's their game.
If they want to butcher it, then butcher it. Like, go ahead.
It's their platform to lose. So their fallback is that you can turn it off. It's on by default, but you can go into the options and turn it off. This sparks a wider conversation as to in-game advertising. Because what do you guys think of that? Would you be annoyed if your game started having actual in-game advertising all the time?
I think it's very clever and interesting when certain like science fiction games have big cities and you can have advertisements in them where normal real life sort of situations would have advertisements.
Like a billboard.
Billboards. And blimps and like rolling like electronic things.
More blimps,
We've got loads of them in Newcastle, these blimps.
I think that's funny and interesting and something that's a comment on reality and a little like crossover. I think that's cool. Shoving it in on boxing gloves and backs and just going, hey, is that a thing? Maybe a bit much. But it's like Batman versus Superman in I Am Legend. I know, not a game. But that was really interesting because then it came like they actually made the film wasn't it? So it was like pre-advertising,
right?
Also predicting the future.
Foreshadowing, I guess. Yeah.
I think,
exactly, that would be interesting.
Yeah, I think for me, it depends on if you're because in this case, like it doesn't really work in a game. For me, it doesn't really work if it's a full price game because you've already paid the money for it. Therefore, you shouldn't be bombarded with advertising to get something else. I think it can better work in something like Rocket League or FIFA. Something that sort of plays into the idea of like more. FIFA does it anyway.
I was going to say.
Yeah, different adverts on the pitch or whatever. Yeah. But those games are still premium things, and I think it depends how you do it because this is clearly very crowbarred in. But I remember one of the first cases of advertising in gaming, and it's not going to be one of the first cases, but I remember Alan Wake being talked about quite a lot because the batteries you got got in Alan Wake were Duracells.
Yes.
And that was like a thing.
That's how you know they last long.
That's what they want you to remember. But it's like, I remember when that happened, just thinking like, well, that's not a problem. Batteries are Duracells, that's fine.
Yeah.
But there are like sort of weird little, not morals, but weird ramifications around the pricing of things like that. If you're being like sort of advertised, if things are blocking out different parts of the game world for the sake of plastering an advert on, even though you've already paid full price for it, I think that's an interesting conversation to have.
Yeah, it goes one or two ways. It's either going to absolutely break your immersion, because you're like, what is this Duracell doing in the middle of this world? Or it's going to go, oh, hey, I recognize that from real life. That is a way for me connecting these two worlds together a little bit.
Yes.
Complete opposite. Yeah, I was going to say.
As long as they don't, like, I don't know, put like a sticker on Shovel Knight's head, then I'm fine.
It's
But
just cheeky, isn't it? But
it's very cheeky. I don't like their sort of business fallback. Like, well, you can turn it off if you don't like it. It's like, well, you just threw it in my face in the first place, so I've kind of got to.
I mean,
costuming is completely different, isn't
well, the
it?
thing is, it's sort of like they are real fighters, real boxers who would have sponsors, I guess.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
So I'll give you a nice little statistic now, which is kind of crazy. You remember the original Xbox? Not the Xbox One, but the Xbox One.
I still have mine. It's home.
The brick, massive,
it was
van-sized thing.
It was large.
So apparently the Nintendo Switch has already outsold the original Xbox's lifetime sales. So this comes from VG Charts, who said that 24.92 million units have been sold compared to the original Xbox's 24.65 million.
Holy butts!
So like, Switch is already kind of leading, even though we kind of associate like Xbox as starting that platform off.
So
and stuff.
that's
It's kinda
over
cool.
how many years? But the Switch has only been out. It's less than 2 years.
Yeah, exactly. In
That's
2016.
awesome.
So it's kind of crazy, but it's a bit of a cool thing. I mean, I have nostalgia for the original Xbox. I don't know if you guys do, but like old logo and stuff.
Totally loved it. You could argue, like, obviously, like that was a long time ago. I want to say it was about 12, 15 years ago.
Fair 12 was a good year.
15 years
Yeah.
ago? Anyway,
Something like that.
Oh, it was a long time ago. And gaming is huge now. Like, it's much more popular. It's much more mainstream. So people are spending more money on gaming.
Yeah.
So it's, it's bound to happen.
Oh, the general like worldwide revenue is ridiculous. So I don't know if you guys saw earlier this week a bunch of Sony statistics leaked. They revealed a thing called My PS4 Life, and
we
did
were all
it.
doing that.
Yeah, we did it because we have
Guess
PlayStation.
what my top 3 games were?
Well, it's probably Souls Remastered.
Souls and Bloods and Barns and
And so they put this out. You couldn't do it sadly because you're on Xbox.
No, I got a PlayStation. I have PlayStation. I bought it this year, but I haven't played anything.
What
on
the
it
hell?
Because I had everything. Oh, it's a long story.
It's
I had
a long
everything.
story.
I had everything on Xbox One, and now I'm playing on it.
Okay.
So I've got like 2 hours on The Last of Us or something.
At least you started strong. We'll get there. So Sony put out this My PS4 Live thing where you could put your gamer tag in and it would tell you, okay, you spent this much time on these many games and you got this trophies and whatever. And so basically people realized that trophy data, the way it's always been put out on the websites is you have a percentage stat. So it would be like, okay, 30% of people have this trophy.
Yeah.
But you never knew a specific numerical figure like as to what that 30% was. And so when they did the My PS4 Live thing, it tells you like, hey, you have this trophy and 500,000 people also have this trophy.
Yeah, that was really interesting. My rarest trophy, only like 1,000 people have it.
Yeah.
It was on Disney Infinity.
Big ups to Disney Infinity. I'm one of the only people who own that thing. But because the thing is, Sony have always been notoriously cagey about their player data because it can be misused or it can be put out there. They don't necessarily want the competition knowing exactly what sells and what doesn't. But because they then put out this My PS4 Live thing and they told you, hey, 30% is X figure, people can then realize, well, if 30% is this, then 70% is this. Therefore, the full game is being played by this many people. And so people kind of reverse engineered a whole bunch of stats. So website gamstat.com has everything on.
Love me some gams.
I'm a big fan of the GAM stats. Pretty gammy. And so everything is on there now. So people are basically, whoever's crunching these figures is just kind of going game by game because they have to rely on people submitting their own My PS4 Live stats so that they can then do the figures. But I've pulled some specific figures from this. What do you guys think is the least played game on the PS4?
Just like ever.
Well, not ever, because the least played one ever was this little tiny indie thing.
Yeah, it's going to be like a little tiny game, isn't it? So
I guess actually I'll throw this out and you
can.
can just react. So only 35,800 people played The Walking Dead final season. So that's quite small.
Actually, I am one of the people that hasn't played that yet.
Well,
so
you're
that-
part of the problem, Rachel.
I played the first season. Then
Yeah, I think everybody
really good.
did.
With
But
the Telltale games,
I never played the last one because the first season's so good. You're just like,
Yeah.
that's enough. End it there.
For me, I was like first season, then the 400 days thing, and I did do season 2, but then I dropped the hell off after that.
2 was good. 1 was the best. I was waiting on the whole thing coming out
Yeah,
before getting it.
they might do that eventually.
Rip.
It's the RIP, the good makers of story-driven things. But yeah, so basically, if you go across the entire, like all the player data, you'll sort of find that the average amount of people that play something is in the millions. So 35,800 is minute.
That's tiny.
Yeah.
And contributed obviously to Telltale's like downfall kind of thing. Some other figures: Pyre was on 67,500. Pyre is Super Giant's
Pyre,
game,
yeah.
which I adore. Fallout 76. What do you guys think that's on?
Not high.
4 players. One
Two of them are in this room.
One of them is rich.
Rich and his friends are propping up Fallout 76. Fallout 76 came in at 407,000.
I was close.
Which you got a 4 in it.
That is minuscule.
Apparently that's it's not good
Bethesda
for them. Farming Simulator 15 is on 900,000.
Literally.
So that's kind of destroying it.
Get out.
Hey, the farming sim games have a hell of a fan base.
Oh, they're
They
hard.
do. They do.
It's weird.
They're difficult.
It's kind of weird.
No, big up the sim games. Big up the sims. It's just Farming Simulator is like this thing with Rich just bloody runs it, doesn't he? Like,
Yeah. Although in just when we're talking about farm games, Stardew Valley is the best thing. So
Lovely.
I've got to throw that in there.
It is.
So another addendum for these figures is that they're all taken from mid-November because by the time Sony put their My PS4 Live thing out, all those statistics were taken from a couple of weeks beforehand.
Yeah.
So all these stats are relative of November. Some things from the middle: Red Dead Redemption 2 is on 7.7 million,
Ooh.
even though it's only been out for however long, a month and a bit.
Didn't it have the biggest entertainment release?
Yeah, like
weekend
ever or whatever.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's gonna have like some fat player.
But it's insane. I mean, yeah, you compare it to, like, you talk about like story franchises and story developers, Bethesda versus Rockstar at the minute. They're just in different realms kind of thing at the minute.
Yikes.
Some other things: Overwatch is on 10,200,000.
Going
What do you
strong.
guys think Fortnite is on?
Oh, a billion.
It's not as high as it's not in the highest bracket
A
of
billion.
games.
A seventh of the world playing
billion.
Fortnite. Oh my god.
An entire continent is playing Fortnite.
A billion.
Fortnite is actually on 16,200,000, so it's not
So it's
as
close.
big
Oh
as you
my
think.
God.
Rocket League beats that with 22,600,000, which
This is
I'm
so
a big
many
fan.
people.
Yeah.
I know.
It's not a billion people. Though.
So let's get into the highest ones. What do you guys think is the most played game on PS4?
The most played game on PS4, I'm going to say, is Grand Theft Auto 5.
You are wrong.
oh no, the pressure.
Think of the big old franchises. You've got your football games, you've got your shooting
Skyrim.
games. Not Skyrim. Skyrim isn't even on
It's
here.
going to be FIFA 18, or is it 19's out now?
I will give you FIFA.
Call of Duty.
Call of Duty.
Call of Duty?
Which Call of Duty?
Black Ops 4.
Yes.
Yes.
Black Ops 4 is on 57 million, which is
Ooh.
doing very well for Activision. So some other stats in the top bracket. You were close with GTA 5. That's 55,900,000.
Only
and
55 million.
Oh.
All the FIFAs are actually interestingly quite close to each other. FIFA 18 is on 32,500,000. FIFA 17 is on 30 million, and FIFA 16 is 28,300,000.
Oh, so it's going up every year.
So they went up by 2 million players every year, which is like, that's kind of, I don't know, for me, as obviously people who play FIFA every year do carry across, but they're still managing to bring more people in.
Yeah.
That's
So,
good. I mean, good for FIFA. I know I joke and I say, like, the world does not need more FIFAs, but I mean, that's proof.
I
The
could have
world does.
done with Googling some statistics of some small countries, because I bet that like 57 million or whatever is the size of like a small country in my
Definitely.
terribly geographically adult brain. But maybe it's a thing. Let's move on to your friend and mine, Alfonso Ribeiro, also known as Carlton, because he's suing Fortnite alongside. And so he
Was that the dance? Sorry.
Was that your
I'm
attempt at the
sitting-
dance?
I'm trying not
I mean-
to whack the microphone.
No, that's the thing.
I tried to
These
do this the other day and
it's
I'll
not.
do it.
Wang-
There's no
going
click in it.
everywhere.
Maybe there
There
is.
is.
Oh yeah, there is. Anyway, so he basically, it took him a while, but he basically realized that the Carlton dance is in Fortnite, and he's Carlton. So what the
Yeah.
hell? And so he kind of like started this whole lawsuit against Fortnite and Epic or whatever. And now that he's out there, rapper 2 Milli and the Backpack Kid have joined in, because the Backpack Kid did the floss dance
Yeah,
thing,
that
which
was
is
it.
also in Fortnite, and people refer to that thing as like the Fortnite. Well, they refer to it as flossing, but that it came
It
from
is
Fortnite.
the Fortnite dance.
Yeah,
isn't it?
exactly.
Yeah.
Whereas what do you call it, Mr. Kid was like, actually that's mine.
Yeah.
And so those three people
Mr.
have
Kid.
whatever
Mr.
he's called,
The Backpack
Mr. B
Kid.
Kid. They're all like mounting up together to try and do this thing against Epic and get some
Yeah.
sort of royalties back as to the dances that they created. So a quote from Varieties was from Carlton's, I keep calling him Carlton, Alfonso Ribeiro's lawyer, who said that the Carlton is inextricably linked to the actor and is a part of his celebrity persona, and both Epic and Take-Two have unfairly profited from his creative expression, likeness, and celebrity without his consent and without compensation.
Yeah.
So
Well, they literally motion captured
have you
him.
seen the side by side thing?
like-
Yeah. So one of the gifs that was doing the rounds, it might have been a video, was just a side-by-side comparison showing Ribeiro doing the dance. I think it was on some BBC show. And they literally, if you have them side-by-side, it looks like it was motion captured.
Yeah.
So he is overdue some royalties.
Oh, 100%. Like, all these dances and stuff, I thought that they'd gotten, like, permission.
You'd assume so.
Yeah,
You would assume so.
Yeah, and then 'cause it's also been so long, so
Yeah.
it's taken ages for them to, like, pick up on this and go, actually, that's nice.
It's
as
weird
well.
because the Carlton's been in multiple games. Like, it's been in a whole bunch of... it's been an emote order in a bunch of games. It was in the Saints Row games as well.
Oh, was it?
But he never, as far as I know, unless it was squared off behind the scenes, I don't think he ever kicked up a fuss about that.
Yeah.
Might be because Mr. Ribeiro is a very nice man.
Yeah, he
But,
is.
like, I think he probably just let it go. And after a while, he's like, the whole world's playing Fortnite.
Yeah.
And I could do with some kickback.
No, I
Because
think
he
that's
is responsible for
very,
it.
very fair, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like, it's his dance, it's his intellectual property. They need to sort it out with him. Like, that's not cool. Don't steal things.
No, and I think that, like, it's very easy for him to prove it as well. So it's assumedly going to be an open shut thing. I don't know what 2 Millie's dance is, but we know what the backpack kid is.
Yeah.
So and people don't know the backpack kid. I knew that as the Fortnite dance. So it's about time that he sort of got his due as well.
I feel like we should throw us back to the earlier point where
Go
I was
on.
like the knockoff consoles as well. Like, stealing also bad for those. Like, funny. The Fortnite dance also good and funny, but stealing is bad for all these things.
Stealing is definitely
they
bad.
definitely should get their recompense.
And no
I
one
know,
should
guys,
upset
it's
Mr.
Christmas.
Ribeiro.
It's
Yeah.
Christmas.
It's
Yeah, exactly.
Then he steal.
No, not especially when it's Alfonso Ribeiro, the nicest man. Like, that's his full name. Okay, so we can end on a German dispute between Nintendo and the German Consumer Protection Authority.
Jawohl.
Because, and we might have, I don't know how much you guys have experienced this, but if you've bought games digitally, have you ever wanted to refund them?
I have had to do that once, yes. It
Through
was something I bought on a whim. It was actually on the Xbox store. It was
Cool.
so easy to refund, yeah.
So in terms of the console refund policies on digital refunds, Xbox or Microsoft are the only storefront that lets you do it. Sony and Nintendo don't.
Right.
And so there's kind of a whole thing. I mean, I think this is an ongoing conversation as to, like, you know, consumer rights in regards to digital property. But this particular case is more regarding pre-orders. And so if you pre-order something on the eShop, you've paid for it, Nintendo won't give you your money back even if you want to cancel it. And so that's before the release date, which you'd think would free the consumer up to be in the right. And so that's the ongoing thing between Nintendo and the German Consumer Protection Authority. And so from website Pressfire, who wrote this up, because apparently this originally started in Norway, someone tried to get their pre-order back, and then they couldn't, and they've started off with this government body in Norway. But a statement from Pressfire says that Nintendo claims that the ability to preload games following a pre-order means that distribution has, in a sense, begun, despite those games not yet being playable, which is madness, because they're digital.
Yeah, no, but if it is, the thing is, you should always be able to get a refund from online things if
Yes.
you haven't consumed them. So if you haven't loaded the game, then yes, you should be able to get a refund. I understand their point of saying it's on your console. It's on your console, so you've technically been distributed it. But like, if you sent something from online
If it was physical,
shopping,
yeah.
like if you bought something online and then were sent it, you'd be able to send it back, like clothes or whatever. Like
Totally.
my desk is always covered in ASOS parcels. You can see what you've ordered online and then go, actually, that's not for me. Send it back. I haven't used it. Send it back. Like the same, it should be for a game as well.
I think the only potential, because they said like distribution has in a sense begun, and it's like not
Has
really.
it though?
The nearest thing to digital distribution in the sense that I think they're getting at is if something was being preloaded, like which I don't even think you can do on the eShop. Like if you're on PS4 or Xbox, you can already download the game, you just can't access it until midnight. And so I don't think you can do that on the Switch. I could be wrong, but even if that is the case, that might be what they're referring to. But they can easily just delete it again.
Yeah, I assume that's what they're referring to. But if it's downloaded locked and you send it back, then they just rescind your key for actually playing
You'd
the game.
assume so, yeah.
Especially before it's even been released. I agree that you should be able to refund a pre-order.
I think that a general sort of reckoning has been a long time coming in regards to digital products and stuff, because I think that the Steam store has a good refund policy, the 2-week bracket thing, which is what Xbox took over as well.
That's
I think,
generous, that.
Yeah. I mean, it's based on playtime too, so you can't just like completely cane a game in 2 weeks. I think it's based on 2 hours
like a
play or
couple
something.
hours,
Yeah, and so like you basically fire something up. I mean, basically for me, I think that the consumer needs something to be protected against games like Fallout 76 or something that
It wasn't that bad.
No, but point being that it's not what you expect. It's something that maybe, something that grab your kids, but something that's potentially like doesn't play very well or is immediately buggy or isn't what you expect it to be. There should be a way to go, this isn't what I want, and take it back, because you would with any other faulty product. And it's just kind of strange that even if it was physical, you could take it back to a shop and be like, this isn't playing
Or just
well.
trade it in as
Yeah, or
well.
trade it in. And so like if you have physical media, you have that way out, but you don't have that on digital.
That is
so,
something I would like to see in digital stores, is like a depreciated sort of credit that you could trade in games for a new game. So like if you've had like Red Dead on a digital download and something else, then you can get them all together and say, I'm going to trade these in for a certain amount of coins to go towards credit for other games. That'd be really good, and that would be a good way of saying, well, we don't.
a lot of shops do that. Kinda, don't they?
Online.
Oh, sorry, no, I thought you meant physical.
No.
I've been trading for years.
The PlayStation Store, for example. Do you know what? It's kind of weird that they haven't done something like that.
Because then they could just completely wipe out the need for refunds because they can say, well, you can trade it in for a depreciated value, like when you're trading in actual games, and they're
Yes.
like, oh, well, you can buy this light bulb and set it back for less because of the market.
I mean, to be honest, to bring it back to...
Okay, Ash.
We don't want the light
Light
bulbs.
bulbs.
To be fair, to bring it back to Nintendo, though, they do have a really cool gold coin system where every time you buy something,
They do.
give you like
Oh.
it's like a 10% or a, what is it, 1%
It's a
version?
tiny little percent, and then the next time you buy something, they'll be like, "You have some coins. Do you want to take £2
Yeah.
off your
Oh,
purchase?"
okay.
I'm
So it's like
yes!
I think it's like if you spend £50, I think they give you £5 back or
That's
something like, or
10%.
50 pence.
That's
It's
a
something
lot.
like
no,
that.
it's like 1%.
1%.
It's like,
Either
yeah,
way,
50,
it's a fraction of your
Yeah.
price, but that builds up, and then over time you have this nice. And they say, hey, do you want to like you go buy a game and say, hey, do you want to use your coins instead? And you go,
Yeah.
yes, I've got 3
Yeah.
pence, I will use that.
No, that's lovely. That's
Yes.
also a good way of doing it. I feel less angry about not getting refunds. They're like, well, at least they'll give you some money for actually buying
True.
it in the first place.
It's heck all, but it's
yeah,
something.
it's something.
It works with physical as well. You just register the physical game as your game, and you get the coins from it. It's pretty good.
yeah.
I think that, I mean, yeah, they like considering how backwards Nintendo can be, that's a nice policy and that's very consumer friendly. They could do with something that has, they could do with a digital refund system as well, though.
Yeah.
Just because the amount of shovelware, like mobile port bull hopping.
Yeah.
To stay away from swearing on YouTube, that is on the eShop is kind of ridiculous.
Even if it's just coins they give you back as well, that's a nice way of doing it. They don't just give you your money back. If they give you credit back for the store, that's
You can use it again.
Again, another way around it that helps the company as well as the consumers.
So the way that it is at the minute, this lawsuit is over pre-orders and the idea of being able to cancel digital pre-orders. But I have to assume or hope that it'll snowball into the wider conversation as to digital refunds because, Xbox are very consumer friendly and they've like taken Steam's refund policy, and Steam's refund policy is for the most part accepted as a good way to go. So hopefully it'll work out for everyone.
Yes.
So yes, you guys can let us know what you think down in the comments below of all these different news things, or find us on social media. This has been the WhatCulture Gaming Podcast. I've been your host, Scott Tailford, joined by Ash.
Hello, I've been Ash, and goodbye.
And joined by Rach.
Thanks for watching.
I'll catch you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.